Welcome back to another amazing episode of Mic'd Up, where we showcase great artists and get to know them in an interview. I'm your host, Lydia Defoe.
And I'm Andrew Toomey. Today we have local hip-hop artist Kai Dayle. Let's find out about Kai.
Kraft Dayle, better known as Kai Dayle, is an American-Canadian hip-hop artist. Kai was born on Staten Island, raised in New Jersey, and has been living in Ontario since the age of 7. Kai's been playing drums for 20 years and producing hip-hop for 3. Kai's goal is to normalize the LGBTQ community within hip-hop.
Now that we know a little bit more about Kai, let's hear some music.
And it is no accident that as long as the dogs were biting Negro women, Negro babies, and Negro children, Kennedy said nothing. It was only after the Negroes began to strike back. Please. It was then that Kennedy called in the army. So don't you be fooled by Kennedy. Don't you be fooled by these other Negro preachers. Dog attack you get that dog, 2-legged dog, or a 4-legged dog. Them to get me impressed and be in this life with me. Well, I have to turn the other cheek. Do you hate all white people? I don't think it's a fair question. White man doesn't even come into my attitude. Mr. Muhammad teaches us to love our own kind and let the white man take care of himself. For a white man today, sir, after kidnapping millions of black people from Africa, stripping them of all human characteristics and relegating them to the role of a chattel or cattle or commodity, merchandise that could be bought and sold at will. And then 100 years since the Emancipation Proclamation, using every type of deceptive method to further us into slavery, called second-class citizenship. I think that it would take a whole lot of nerve for white people today to ask Negroes, do they hate them?
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for an interview and another great performance.
Hello folks, are you looking for some good old-fashioned family entertainment? Well, look no further than the most exciting thing to roll into an empty parking lot this autumn. It's a car! This non-moving marvel of mechanical engineering is a godsend of advanced technological transportation. And for this weekend only, you can come here to this parking lot and look at it. Just listen to a testimonial from this upstanding Canadian citizen.
Well, I have my own car, so one being in this parking lot isn't super special. I guess this one's blue. Mine's not blue. That's kind of cool, I guess.
This baby's got all the options. Tires, a back, it's blue, and it has 5 seats. 5 seats! Whatever plans you had this weekend, cancel them. You don't need them. This is what you need. Come here this weekend. You can pay at the entrance. Tickets are probably affordable.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. We're here with Kai, and we want to get to know a little more about your musical history.
So, how long have you been doing music?
Long time. I started playing, I actually started my musical background on drums. I started playing drums when I was 2 years old, and I was born in 95, so that was 97, so it's been about 22 years that I've been playing drums.
Wow.
And as far as like the beats go, like on my hip hop stuff, I started that 3 years ago in 2016. A friend of mine gave me a little MIDI controller for Christmas, and like I just had never seen something that kind of generosity from somewhere other than my parents. So it kind of motivated me. I'm like, okay, you spent this money on this thing. I got to actually put some use to it, and like just fell in love with it. And now I did like every day. I try to work on something now. I'm always making beats.
How has your American upbringing inspired your music?
Well, as wasn't very subtle in the previous song, I have held my black identity very close to me. Being born in America, as well as black people are, despite the rights and the legal laws that are in place, we're still kind of treated like garbage down in America, and some parts of Canada too. It's not exactly perfect here, but basically, like, because of my American upbringing and because of the chaos that I see in my home country right now, it really fuels a lot of my music. Like that song that you just heard, the first song I played was called "Unfair Question." I sampled Malcolm X throughout the song, sorry. And basically, the message he was giving at the very end, like the first message he was saying was not to trust certain politicians that will use the black struggle for their own political gain. Like he was saying, like basically the intro was saying, it wasn't until black people fought back against all the dogs and the water hoses and everything, when we weren't doing anything about it, Kennedy said nothing. It wasn't until we started fighting back that JFK was like, okay, maybe I can get some leverage and become president with this. And while I love him for it, he was a revolutionary president. Just throughout history, like my people have been used as a political pawn for a long time. And that's what the intro part of that was. And the outro was an interview with Malcolm X where he was asked, "Do you hate all white people?" And then his response was one of the most intelligent responses I've ever heard. He said, "That's not a fair question, because you're not considering the hundreds of years of oppression and abuse and slavery that we had to deal with and still deal with." And that was back in the 60s, that clip. And we still do with similar stuff today. So he says it takes a whole lot of nerve after all that for a white person to ask, "Do Negroes hate white people?" So that's the long answer to your question. That's how my American identity plays into my music, because my American identity is my black identity. Yeah. I was born there. I would love to go back there one day, but we currently have an absolute buffoon in office, and it's not safe for me down there right now. So I'm happy up in the north at the moment.
Which brings us to the next question. Do you think living in Canada has been better for your music career?
Yes and no. It's the pressure has definitely been, it's not as bad as it is in America. Like healthcare, for example, is one thing I don't have to worry about as much. Like I'm lucky to have, I'm lucky that my parents are alive because, at the moment, because my father actually came down with lupus when we lived in America. So it's a weird immune system disease. And we just didn't have the funds to deal with that. And if also George Bush was reelected, and we're like, nope, we got out of there. So we came to Canada. Because of Canada's healthcare system, my father survived. Later on, he ended up contracting kidney disease. And again, because of Canada's healthcare system, he got a transplant and survived. So
that's incredible.
Having my parents alive definitely helped my music career going.
Yeah.
My father is actually a professional musician, and he's my musical rock. He helps me out and supports me the most with my music because he's done it himself. So he already knows all the ropes. He's like, I'm going to help you bypass all the hardships and really just give you what I can. And because he's still here, that's helped me immensely. And I say and no, because there's not many opportunities up in Canada, especially for hip hop. Like in my little subsection, like lo-fi hip hop, a lot of the bigger groups and a lot of bigger collectives is here, like US based. So it's kind of hard being like a Canadian artist, well, like in Ontario anyway, because there's a huge artist named Beside You. He's out in Vancouver. So I guess being in Vancouver would help. So like location is a big part in your career, and at the moment I kind of have to deal with web-based stuff. Yeah. It's that's why I say I hope I can move back to America one day so I can really take advantage of the stuff. Because I have so many friends like in New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta, all those places. Like specifically New York is where I want to go back.
All right. So about your music career, you recently hit 700 followers on SoundCloud. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
How did you feel hitting that big milestone, and how do you feel going forward to an even bigger milestone?
I was hyped, but I didn't let it go to my head because in the grand scheme of things, 700 is still a really small number. Like there are people out there who are just starting their careers and their numbers are in like the thousands and the thousands. But of course I still take all my small victories as I go. Every 100 is like, it's cool, because that's 100 more people that like what I do. And so like, any person that digs what I do, it's like having just, like if I had like, every single time I get like a follower on something, I'm always like super grateful. I don't take it for granted, because it's like I put my everything into this, and so when someone actually wants to check it out, it's pretty rad. So 700 is great. I'm striving to go even higher and higher and higher. I don't plan on taking any breaks soon. I'm going to keep going as hard as I can.
It's good to hear. So who do you hope to inspire with your music?
Who I hope to inspire? My main audience that I reach out to is LGBT people of color, because I myself am non-binary, go by the pronouns they and them, and well, it's no secret, I'm black. So, like being part of multiple marginalized groups of people, I deal with a lot of harassment, and I'm one of the people that I'm very vocal about said injustice, because it happens to me all the time. And it kind of annoys some of my more privileged friends, because they don't see it, so they don't but the fact that they're still my friends means they at least they understand what I'm going through, even though they may not 100% know what it feels like. But like, my main audience is the people of color in the LGBT community, because we get the crap end of the stick like most of the time. There's like a hierarchy, and like queer people of color, especially queer black people, were like way at the bottom fighting for representation. So I'm trying to give that representation, because it's kind of ironic. In the hip hop community, you see a lot of prejudice against the LGBT community, considering the fact that hip hop is a black art, and we have dealt with so much oppression in our lives as black people for hundreds of years. You'd think that we would treat LGBT people properly, since they're going through the same thing right now.
Yeah.
So I try to bring that to light, and I try to bring that and be as vocal about it as possible. And like I said, it bugs people, but hey, you gotta make people uncomfortable to change their minds, you know?
It's true.
It's not a comfy subject, so.
No.
All right, and who is your biggest musical inspiration?
My biggest musical inspiration? You pin me in a corner here with this one.
Thought-provoking.
I'll tell you right, my biggest musical inspiration at the moment, in terms of sound, there's this artist called Twamie. It's spelled Tuamie, and he is probably the best beat maker I've ever heard in my life. Like he manages to do like 1 or 2 measure loops, like a measure or a bar is like just groups of 4 beats. It's just like groups of 4 beats, or however, whatever your time signature is. For the sake of simplicity, you have like a 4/4 time signature, and then there's 4 beats per bar. So he'll do like the most simple loops, like 2 bars, and have that go on for like 2 minutes. But you don't get bored. It's the same thing, just like 2 bars looping over and over and over again, but you don't get bored of it. And not many producers can do that. Not many, like a lot of producers, they need to throw like B sections in there, cutouts and different things to make their beats more interesting. I'm like that. I'm not at Twamie's level yet. I do effects and everything to try to make it. No, Twamie just like goes into his software. Ableton Live is the software I use. I use Ableton Live as well. Goes to the software, records 2 bars of a beat, mixes it a bit, extends it to a minute, and then puts that on a tape. And it's one of the most masterful pieces of music you'll ever hear. And after hearing that, it kind of struck something in me. It was like, you don't need to have a complex song for it to be dope. It doesn't have to have all these different sections. It doesn't have to be 4 or 5 minutes long. You can have like a 1-minute instrumental song and say a ton of stuff in it, as opposed to like a 4-minute song of you rambling on about nonsense. A second inspiration is Dayle. He's like the inspiration of every single producer. He's like your producer's favorite producer is what people refer to him as. Yeah, Dayle is the guy. He's the one that took what everybody knew about playing on time with your drums, threw it out the window, and made it sound perfect. The best way to describe it is a drummer who's another inspiration of mine. His name's Questlove. He plays for a band called The Roots, and the way he described it was that like the hi-hats and the snare were on time, but the kicks were played by like a drunk 3-year-old. And it just, it sounds weird as heck, and like, it's the weirdest description, but when you hear the music, it's just so funky, because it's because it's so imperfect and it goes all behind the beat, ahead of the beat. It doesn't really, it's not technically in time, but like it's human, and it makes the music sound very, very human. And like every producer does it now, so his style is slowly becoming overplayed.
No.
But that core vibe of making your music sound human is the main thing. And then my final inspiration, it's cheesy, is my father. He's been playing music for 40 years professionally.
Wow.
He's gone through literally to hell and back, having to deal with kidney surgery and everything. And especially in the recent times in my life, because I've been dealing with mental illness a lot lately. It's debilitating. It can really mess up somebody's life, and it's really been slowing my music career down a bit. But he's been able to help me get going, because he's like, listen, I was completely out of commission, couldn't even play drums because my kidney was on fire, and I had to be in dialysis 3 times a week. And we had to always had these like bags, so this machine he had to hook his kidney up to, and he could barely move around because he was so weak. And his kidney medication gave him diabetes on top of that. And it's just like, he went through all kinds of stuff, but he's still here, he's still making money off of his music, he's still helping support the family, and if he can do it, then like I'm good. So that, like just him existing right now is one of the biggest inspirations to my life. It keeps me alive, it keeps me going.
That's awesome. So to wrap things up, do you have anything coming up?
Do I have anything coming up? At the moment, no. But just in November, like I'm just currently working on stuff. I'm always in the studio trying to come up with ideas. Just in this last November, I released a new album though. It's called Recovery. It's basically inspired by my journey through my mental illness struggles and just trying to survive despite your brain telling you to die every day, kind of thing. I know it's a heavy subject, but it's real. That's what I deal with. I can't lie and say that my life is all perfect, like these people on Instagram are. Everything's great. Like it's, when people go through stuff, like I treat it like a broken arm. So that album is like my testament to my disease, to my mental disease, and saying like, screw you, I can do this anyway. And actually, the song that I plan to play at the end of this actually is off of that record. It's titled Plume. I worked on it with a friend of mine who lives in Finland, power of the internet. I just did the drums and percussion and mixing on this one. He is the one that was in charge of like the melody sample, all that stuff. So shouts out to you, Anzi. You really did a number on that beat. So yeah, you can find that on Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Apple Music, iTunes, Tidal, everything. It's on everything.
Awesome.
I'm so excited to hear it. So we're glad that we have more knowledge about you, and after this commercial break, we will hear your next song.
Cool. Screll, thanks for having me on. This was
Of
really
course.
super,
Thank you
super
so
awesome.
much for coming.
Okay, let's get started.
Hey, buddy, are you alright? Somebody call 911.
The world isn't all in your pocket. Keep your head up.
All right, and now here's Kai with another performance.
The climate shift that these dudes created through the music was incredible. And then they were all friends? You really had the Avengers and the X-Men in real life as producer crews.
Tonight's recipe is Katie.
having you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, and that wraps up our show today. Make sure you keep up with DC Broadcasting on YouTube to see all of our more episodes, amazing guests. I'm Lydia Defoe.
And I'm Andrew Toomey.
We'll see you next time.